What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to be working on one of my personal cars. We're going to be installing some coilovers on it, some BC Racing coilovers to be exact. And we're going to be slamming it as far as it'll go. Let's get to it. What's going on YouTube? Today we're working on one of my personal vehicles, my 2013 Ford Flex. We're going to be installing some BC Racing coilovers. Let's get to it. All right, let's go ahead and remove the front tires. My lug nuts are aftermarket, so it's not going to be the same as yours, but it is a 19 millimeter. Alright, with your rim removed, we're going to go ahead and see if we get lucky with this sway bar in link. It's a 13/16. We're going to see if we can't bust this thing out without having to do it the right way. Nope. It's spinning, so we're going to have to go ahead and get the tools for that. I'm thinking this is a 10. Go ahead and get some channel locks on that and a 10 millimeter. And what you're going to do, instead of loosening, you're going to tighten, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be spinning the ball joint inside of the sway bar link. There you go. Alright, I'm probably just gonna have to leave that until we remove our strut. Alright, the strut nuts on this side are 15/16. These look like they're in there pretty tight, so we're gonna go ahead and put our nut back on until it is flush with the head of the bolt. Go ahead and put that nut on the bolt so you don't lose any of the pieces. And before we do the lower one, let's go ahead and remove the wheel speed sensor wire. Place that out of the way. There we go. And what you need to make sure, what happens during this, come on bolt, is don't let the steering knuckle, which is this whole assembly right here, pull too far forward, because what you'll end up doing is you'll pull your CV axle out of its socket back there, and sometimes those are really hard to get back in the socket, and sometimes you can't do it at all and you have to actually replace the CV axle. Go ahead and just be nice and gentle with it. Remove our sway bar link. And up top, we're going to go ahead and remove the four bolts. They're 15 millimeters for the top of these struts. The two back ones, I'm going to use a swivel socket. For this bolt back here in the corner, I went ahead and using my deep 15mm attached to a swivel socket and a 3-inch extension. What you're going to need to do is go ahead and start it onto the nut, lift up on your hood prow, and then get that angle down right. And before you remove the last bolt, go ahead and reach underneath and grab your strut so it doesn't drop onto your foot. And there's your front strut. Alright, we've got our BC Racing coilover. These are used, but they're in very good shape. We're going to go ahead and install them. Now you can feel there's a little notch right here. That needs to go facing towards the back like so. Got our first one started, so we can go ahead and put the other 3 on and just get them on there hand tight and start tightening them down. Alright, and then reassembling in the order we took it apart from, we have the new BC coilover installed. I have not put in the sway bar in link yet because I'm going to do the other side, and that way when the sway bar is loose on both sides, it'll be easy to move the whole thing. But with it just being installed, I've already taken a measurement from the top of the fender down to the center of the CV axle, and we've already dropped 4 inches compared to the other side where it's still stock. Now mind you, of course, this is in the air, so those measurements mean nothing other than being able to tell the difference of how much it's already been dropped. Alright, let's go ahead and start on the back. Alright, now we're going to do the back shocks. To do these, you're going to have to get into your trunk, and in the back you're going to see these little hatches. Go ahead and open them up and you will see, okay, well, these are actually all been missing one, and these 3 are loose. But anyway, get yourself a little stubby Phillips screwdriver. That's kind of strange. I guess I lucked out with that, maybe? Or I'm going to open this up and find something terrible. Alright, and then you can pull this whole thing up, and what you're going to have to do is you have to rotate it out like this. Alright, so that was already broken. So how this works is that this piece actually sits right there and it goes inside of that piece right here. So you have to rotate up at the corner like that to get that piece out. But it looks like somebody's already been in here and broke that off for me. So underneath of these covers, which are all over the place now, it looks, I see something metal down there. I think it's just light coming through. Okay, never mind. Move this out of the way, and we have the top of our shocks, which is an 18mm bolt. Go ahead, I'm sorry, an 18mm nut. Go ahead and remove that nut. The retaining washer, which is this big metal piece, and underneath of it, there's going to be a thick rubber sound dampener. Remove all those 3 pieces. Alright, our next step is going to be to remove the sway bar links from the steering knuckle right here, because it is blocking our bolt right behind it. That's for the lower shock bolt. So we're going to see if we get lucky. It's a 15 millimeter. We'll see if we get lucky and can pull this out. Ah, we got lucky. Yeah, nice. Love it when that happens. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. See if we get lucky on the other side too. So that way we can free up the sway bar. So it'll be easy to remove no matter what. Alright, for some reason on this end I'm going to need an extension. Alright, got my 3-inch extension. So I can clear the brake rotor. See if we get lucky again. Nope, not going to happen. Luckily on this one, it looks like they have a internal nut on the inside. Let's go ahead and figure out which one that is. Alright. Luckily, these have the internal nut. We can just go ahead and put an adjustable wrench on that. Easy peasy. Knock these out on both sides. They really do not want to come out. Let's go ahead and try this then. Just going to give it a little lift from the bottom. Yeah, there it goes. Perfect. Now the sway bar is loose. Now we'll make doing the other side easy too. And with that out of the way, we can go ahead and start working on the nut on this side. It is a 19 millimeter. Go ahead and grab the bolt side with your adjustable wrench. Pull that nut off. Make sure you put your nut on the bolt. That way it's much less likely you're going to lose one or both of these pieces. And with that done, we can go ahead and start removing our shock. Just pull it out and rotate it. And drop it straight down. That's your shock removed. Now we can remove the nut and bolt from the suspension arm here to get rid of the spring. Thank you. No problem. And with a little bit of assistance from our transmission jack, if you're Doing this on the floor, which most people probably will be doing. You just use your standard floor jack and raise this up just a little bit. See if we can't start getting this bolt out of here. There we go. I wasn't expecting that to be a battle, but you know, sometimes it just is. Alright, before you put your jack down, make sure you got a hand on that spring. I'm gonna go ahead and just lower this down just a little bit and then lock it back in place. And give this a few taps, or one tap. And that's how we remove our spring. Yeah. Alright, we've got our new spring and adapter installed. Get that bolt started. We got our new shock ready to go in. Make sure you have your dampener already pre-staged. We've got our nut and bolt starter. Go ahead and put them down. Now you might be noticing this little gap right here from where the spring is sitting. Don't worry, when we put the top hat on our shock, it's going to pull this whole system up and it'll close that gap. And that's pretty much all there is to slamming a Ford Flex. This is a 2013. I don't think it'll matter too much though. And obviously I switched over to my 22-inch Stratas and I finished my slotted and drilled brake rotor upgrade, painted my calipers, and put some new pads on there. The front, I still need to adjust this a little bit. I can fit about 3 fingers in there. And I want that closer to matching the rear's gap right down here. There's barely 2 fingers, but for the rear, that's about where I want it. I don't want to go too low. Because it's still my daily driver, but you know, maybe one day I'll slam it all the way and make it crazy. But if this video helped you out, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you all next time.